Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of the Town of Oakville's Planning and Development Council. Madam Clerk, I'm aware of regrets from Mayor Burton, which is why I'm sitting in his chair. Any other regrets?
We do have Councillor Knoll who will be joining us shortly.
All right, thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I would appreciate two members of council to move us into the committee of the whole. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Lischina, thank you. Move that this meeting proceed into a committee of the whole session. All in favor? And that is carried. First item on the agenda is item 4.1, recommendation report for the draft plan of condominium at 1075 North Service Road, West 1000326628, Ontario, Inc. We have a presentation, we have staff ready with a presentation on this, council. What would you like? Councillor O'Meara, do you have a question on this?
No, Mr. Chair. I'd just be happy to move both consent items unless there was any objections from council members.
Is that good, council? And that includes the confidential consent item. Thank you, Councillor O'Meara. That takes us to item 5.1, Madam Clerk.
No, that's the consent item too. He moved
Oh.
both of them, so now we're at 7.1.
7.1, the old Oakville Heritage Conservation District. We have a presentation, we have staff ready and willing to make a presentation. I personally would like to see this. So, Ms. Schappert, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I am so happy to be able to give a good news presentation to council. They don't happen all the time, and this is a project that's been very near and dear to many of us in planning services for the past few years. So I am here this evening to just briefly take you through what's been going on with the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District update. So the Heritage District itself has been in place since 1981-1982. Council approved the original designating bylaw in 1981. It had to go to the Ontario Municipal Board, as all Heritage Conservation District bylaws did at that time, and that was fully approved in 1982. And that district plan has been serving us very well since 1982, but it is definitely time for an update, and we have been working diligently at this since our kickoff in the late fall of 2021. We retained our consultants in 2022 and began our lengthy process of consultation with the stakeholders in the area that involved not just public meetings, but also one-on-one meetings that we were very happy to undertake in order to get public education and buy-in for the project. So the first draft of the study was released in March of 2023. We took that forward to Heritage Oakville after making some revised drafts in August of 2023. And what we heard at that time was that there needed to be a little bit more worked on several areas of the study that I'll touch on in just a few minutes. So we went back, we did more consultation with our stakeholders and our consulting team, and we were pleased to put the revised study online for public review and comment at the end of December in 2023. And so the work that we've completed to date really is for the first phase of completing a Heritage Conservation District. The staff report does go into this a little bit more, but essentially the Ontario Heritage Act requires really two things for a Heritage Conservation District. A study, which is a very thorough background report that sets out the reasons why the area has cultural heritage value, and then a plan and guidelines. And so what we've been working on is the study component. Even though the Heritage District already exists, there is no process in the Ontario Heritage Act to update a Heritage Conservation District. And really, given that this information had been around since 1982, it really deserved a full redo anyways. And so the revised study that's attached as Appendix A to the staff report is a very thorough document that includes a detailed history of the Heritage Conservation District. It goes into quite a lot of detail about the built heritage character of the area, but also the streetscape and the landscape character. It looks at policy review. It looks at the existing cultural heritage landscapes within the Heritage Conservation District, which itself is also a cultural heritage landscape, and looks at the recommended changes that we should be considering for our municipal policies and bylaws, as well as taking a look ahead to what we should be including in our future plan and guidelines. The policy review, as I mentioned, was very extensive. So not only were we looking at reviewing existing and changing provincial policies, but also municipal policies as well, regional policies. All of these things, I'm not going to read this long list, do get taken into consideration within a heritage conservation district. And so the report, as I said, is very thorough. There are tons of interesting graphics and images, mapping, such as this one here, which shows the periods of development that exist within the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District, beginning from the 1830s and onwards. And really what this shows us is how much of the historic building stock in this heritage area still exists, which is really a testimony to the 1982 Heritage Conservation District bylaw, and also the dedication of the community members who live within it. Another one of the graphics from the revised study shows the different types of architectural styles that exist within the Heritage Conservation District. There's such a wide range of different architectural styles, details, periods that really make it an amazing place with all of these different architectural styles that still has a very cohesive feel as a neighborhood. One of the biggest challenges that we had in redoing the Heritage Conservation District study is looking at what the 1981 plan had included as a block analysis. And it contained a lot of really great information about the details of how the district actually worked and functioned, how views looked from different perspectives in the Heritage Conservation District, what the sidewalks were like, how the spacing between the houses was. And so while the block analysis hasn't been functioning as it was originally intended 40 years ago, we decided that we would bring it forward into the new era by using a number of character areas. And this is actually that the character areas is what Heritage Oakville asked us to take another look at last August. And so I'm pleased to say, out of the maps that we're showing here on the screen, the two upper ones, we've got the black and white version, which is the original 1981 blocks. And then we have the smaller color map, which is what we showed Heritage Oakville in August of 2023. And then what we've got in the large map on the bottom is what we're arriving at today, which is part of the revised study. And it includes 5 character areas, as well as a key streetscape overlay. And these character areas will set the basis for us to have some very specific guidelines to protect the character of each of these unique character areas within the Heritage Conservation District. Engagement for this process has been outstanding. We've had good attendance at all 3 of our public meetings, and I'm very pleased to say that we've had a very strong working relationship with the Oakville Lakeside Residents Association and the Oakville Historical Society. We've offered one-on-one stakeholder sessions to the institutions such as our churches in the area and organizations such as the Oakville Club. We've had public online surveys. We've had multiple mail updates and email updates. And we also have a town project web page that is updated with all materials, as well as a story maps webpage, which is produced by our consulting team and gives a more pictorial narrative to the process of updating the Heritage Conservation District, really to make it more understandable to the public. And so I would really like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has participated in this project. It's been a long time coming for us to get here to council tonight. And I especially want to recognize the volunteers of the Heritage Subcommittee of the Oakville Lakeside Residents Association and the Oakville Historical Society. I just want to call your attention to a memo that's been attached to the agenda for this evening. The revised study, as I noted, was released at the end of December in 2023, and we've actually been receiving some comments and feedback throughout January of 2024, just this past month. And we've taken the opportunity to make sure that we've been able to correct some typos, add a little bit of information about zoning, specifically the 4 properties that have an RL5 zoning in a heritage district that's largely RL3. We've updated a photo and we've made a change to our bibliography, and all of these are changes suggested by people who have taken the time to really review this document. And I thank them for their diligence and ask that council accept the revisions that we've presented tonight. And so the staff recommendation before you is that the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District revised study, as attached in Appendix A to the staff report and revised in accordance with the memo dated February 5th, 2024 from Planning Services, be approved. And also that staff be directed to continue work on the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District update to create a revised plan and guidelines. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council members, would you like to bring any questions forward now? We do have a delegation. If we could, my preference would be to hear from our delegation first, if that's all right. Ms. Hochrig, welcome.
Thank you. How am I supposed to address you? Are you, because I had mayor and members of council. Okay, King Giddings and other members of the council. My name is Jane Hochrig, and along with my husband, Jamie McCrae, I live at 65 Navy Street, a house that dates to 1832 and is situated within the boundaries of the Old Oakville Heritage District. I'm here before you this evening to represent the Oakville Lakeside Residents Association as a member of our Heritage Working Group. We support the approval of the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District revised study. This is a critical milestone achievement and one that we support. Over the past 2 years, the OLRA, through its Heritage Working Group, has been a very active stakeholder working with the town of Oakville and other key groups, including the Oakville Historical Society, towards implementing and completing phase 1 of the study. From the very outset, OLRA has been committed to a collaborative partnership approach to ensure that the necessary detailed work and analysis for the study was completed. In our view, the revised study is key to supporting the development of phase 2, a strong and defensible Old Oakville Heritage District plan and guidelines that protect and preserve the area's cultural heritage value. Since the first draft of the revised study was completed in April 2023, we have worked extensively with town staff and the consultants to suggest revisions to the document to fully capture the district's attributes and cultural heritage value, to complete the built inventory for each individual property to ensure all of the relevant heritage criteria, whether it be design, physical attributes, historical, associative, or contextual, were identified. As a result of that work, over 70% of the properties in this district have met heritage criteria. To refine the streetscape and landscape character areas that Sue referenced earlier, to capture the important topographical, physical, landscape, historical features of this important streetscape. We are pleased that the revised study recognizes the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District as a cultural heritage landscape with a multitude of values and attributes that actually make this place special. It's actually the combination of these attributes that actually is the distinguishing feature. The fact that the topography and the physical environment, the actual placement and shape and form of buildings and structures, both in terms of their massing, placement on the lots, and height. The surrounding spaces, vistas, and views that happen both into and out of the properties, along with the tree canopies that make this area a unique and valued heritage district. In looking ahead to phase 2, because we're not done yet, we participated in the tabletop workshop held in the fall of 2023 to brainstorm potential elements to include in the updated district plan and guidelines. At this point, we look forward to continuing our active engagement and partnership with the town when the draft of the district plan and guidelines becomes available later in the spring. We believe that it's imperative to get this right and at the same time ensure that the ongoing South Oakville residential zoning bylaw review be used to ensure that the heritage conservation goals of Old Oakville are appropriately reflected in town zoning, particularly as it relates to height, massing, and front and side yard setbacks, and that an adjacency buffer zone be established. These two key elements of your planning framework are absolutely essential to be aligned with and complement the district plan in order for us to protect the area's heritage character attributes for the future. We understand that the town has recently accepted the 4-story of right principle in order to receive federal funding. We are not aware of this initiative, but we would hope that the heritage districts would be excluded from this provision, and we would like to hear a commitment from this council that it will actively pursue this option. Otherwise, the entire investment that we've made over the last couple of years as a community and as a town and consultants will be for naught. In closing, the reason why we have such a cherished heritage district today, one that OLRA is working hard to protect and preserve for future generations, is because of the foresight and the willingness of residents more than 40 years ago to stand up and protect this special area when developers wanted to build apartment towers on the Ercles estate. That took resolve, it took courage, and it took creativity to come up with one of Oakville's first heritage districts that has stood the test of time. For many of us who've moved into what we call the hood, since then, we see ourselves not only as homeowners, but as custodians for future generations. That is why OLRA is invested in making sure we have a sound and defensible district plan and guidelines with supporting zoning bylaws to actively manage change in the future, consistent with the various heritage attributes that blend into the lived character of this area. And much more broadly, I'd like to step back beyond the boundaries of this heritage district. This is what makes Oakville special. We have so many citizens who care, who get involved, and who continuously seek to make a made in Oakville solution work to address the various challenges and pressures we face. We owe it to our future generations that they can point to us 20, 30, 50 years from now and say that took caring. That's a moment in time that took caring, that took courage, and that took creativity. That's a legacy that each of us could be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. As Ms. Schappert said, that when she started her presentation, she said that she had good news. I think you'd agree that she had great news for us?
Yes.
Thank you from all of us for your time and that of your fellow volunteers, having walked the streets a number of times on hot days, looking at different buildings and different vistas and landscapes. You're to be commended for the effort.
It's an all-array, thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, and you're going to have a few questions, but I just wanted to clarify one thing. You mentioned that the town has recently accepted the 4-story as of right principle. The motion that went through directed staff to come back within 90 days with a report. Mm-hmm. Nothing was approved at that except to have staff come back. A number of us felt that felt the need for consultation that had been lacking to get a good sense from the community. And so that period will allow us to do that, but nothing has been committed except the provincial directive of 3 units as of right. So your concern is, at this point, whether we have any ability with the 3 as of right in our various heritage
I think
districts?
I said this before, with courage and creativity, I think we can make something work.
Thank you very much. Now, you have a few questions here. Councillor Elder.
Thank you. Through Mayor, Acting Mayor. Jane, thanks for coming. You never fail to come, and I appreciate that for Heritage.
Thanks, Alan.
A question, I heard you say something about the 4 as of right. What do you want us to do? What would you like us to put in the recommendations you have before you right now that would make everybody in the Heritage District feel comfortable? That we will not be putting in 4 as of right units town-wide in the Heritage District?
That's right. I believe a heritage district because of what it is. I encourage you to read the cultural heritage attributes of why it's a unique district. The 4 as of right will basically destroy that, and quite frankly, as a taxpayer, we're investing significant dollars in heritage planning staff, et cetera, and in my mind, why would we bother?
Okay, I will be trying to get further clarification, because when I look at the Appendix A in our report, I see a paragraph here, the zoning bylaw, and the word generally supports compatible redevelopment within the HCD, but an opportunity has been identified to re-examine the heights, front and side yard setbacks, and building heights to protect the heritage attributes.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how that would work, so I'll try to get more
So
clarification.
in the South residential zoning, and Sue, you can help me if I screw this up. The special provision that is in the Heritage District today is being reviewed, and one of the challenges with the 10.5 meter height limit that we've established in that special provision zoning is, depending upon the applicant, they're trying to max that out. The typical, the average height of buildings in the district are 1.5 story primarily, with 2, and I think there's 3 2.5 stories. So because of the corners that we have in the district, if you actually get a property that's built to the maximum, and they're going to committee of adjustment now and continuously, it sort of seems like a 25% lot coverage now is 35%, like, you know. So that continually creep is actually affecting the elements of what creates the streetscape that we have. And I would encourage you, anybody wants to come down to my house and go for a walk on a Saturday, Sunday, I'm happy to take any of you, because that's what
many
makes it
times.
good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to get more clarification from staff. So is there anything else we need to write into this report, though?
Oh, I think the study's done, in my view, Councillor Elgar. It's what's really important is how the district plan and guidelines are developed to look at massing, form, et cetera, because the guidelines themselves, from an architectural perspective, can have an impact. But we've got to align the zoning bylaws also, because if you don't have the zoning bylaws aligned, you know, we'll be beating our heads against the wall for a long time.
I appreciate that. We'll get clarification for that before the meeting's over. Thanks
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
Councillor Dudek, you have a question as well.
Not a question, a comment, just to echo what's already been said, but cannot underestimate the amount of hard work that yourself and, as you say, the OLRA have provided throughout this process. You certainly are a testament to what, as you say, makes Oakville special. I'm glad you raised the zoning bylaw issue, because having served on Heritage in the past, I know the big sort of conundrum we've faced is the Committee of Adjustment and the zoning and the Heritage District, and what it's kind of the chicken and the egg. Which one goes first? Do they go to the Committee of Adjustment and then to Heritage, or do they go to Heritage and then the Committee of Adjustment? And I've often felt that Heritage does not get the due recognition in the Committee of Adjustment process. And so I look forward to hearing from staff in regards to how we can strengthen that so that we're on an even playing field, so to speak, and that we're not given an afterthought when dealing with heritage and committee of adjustment applications. And your point is well taken. There's so many out there that think a certain percentage coverage is their right versus, something they have to ask permission for. So as I say, thank you ever so much for all your hard work and look forward to seeing more in the future. Thanks.
If I may, Councillor Giddings, the one element that certainly Councillor Giddings and Councillor Haslett-Thiel have heard from me numerous times, and I actually brought it. You guys will remember this. This was a flip chart I did in my backyard a couple summers ago about what I thought was required for us to have an effective heritage. And it's plan, process, and people. And so if you think about it, the work that's being done with this study is the plan. And the plan has to be relevant and aligned. And the alignment has to be with the zoning bylaws. But there's two other things that are really critical if we're going to be successful. One is the people. And that's really about educating our communities, educating the real estate community, architects, et cetera, about how they can actually do things that will align with our plan guidelines and create this magnificent place and become custodians. And then the third one is process. And that's the one that you're referring to, Councillor Dudek, about sort of, the chicken and the egg. But if we can get alignment between the zoning and the district plan guidelines, we're there.
Councillor Dudek, you had mentioned that you were looking for feedback from staff. Is that for this evening, or for the job jar for a later time?
For the job jar.
Just wanted to clarify that one.
I've got a question of staff.
Councillor Haslett-Thiel.
Jane, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming out and for the continued collaboration and just outstanding research with Susan and everyone. I know you gave up many hours and days, but I think you have something in front of you that you can be rightfully proud of as a team, as a full team, town and residents together. I'm just going to go to sort of any additions you might like on tonight's recommendation. And it's not to do with the guidelines themselves, but rather, are you looking for this council to pass some kind of motion or amendment that commits to pursuing and excluding heritage districts from 4 as of right? Is that something you are looking for us to do tonight? I know that...
I think as an association that we would be supportive of that. I didn't know process or procedure, but that would certainly be something that we'd be supporting.
Okay. Thanks very much again. We'll see what we can do. Okay.
Councillor Eller.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, so my question of staff would be, can we at this point commit to pursuing and affirming that heritage districts are excluded from 4 as of right bylaw that will be coming back to our town council? Can that be done?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. When you go back to take a look at the resolution, the way it was structured for the Housing Accelerator Fund, it said town-wide. So our job right now is looking at what the implications of that are town-wide, inclusive of the heritage conservation districts, all of them. To that end, when we bring something back to council, we can have further discussion at that point, just in terms of how everything fits together, and then take direction from council as part of the public meeting.
So at this time, we don't know yet how far we can go as a town at all if we decide to accept the bylaws that will be, or the zoning that will be coming back. Is that what you're saying? We have to wait?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in essence, yes, because we're doing that work right now. We're really trying to understand what the implications are and really how is this going to compare when you take a look at the zoning and how that complements the heritage conservation districts. Commissioner?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just for greater clarity, what's before council is the heritage district study. So the appropriate place to make changes to any type of Zoning would be when the zoning is before council. So, and we anticipate a public meeting, March 4th. That is not a decision point, but we can hear comments, and we would welcome comments from all citizens. It's a statutory public meeting, and then as the bylaw progresses, council can choose to amend it in any way it sees fit.
Because I know it's going to cost a lot of money for the planning staff to do the zoning, redoing of all the zoning, and I'm just not wanting to waste a lot of money on the staff unless, I'm very much afraid of what could come back at us. Because the council, what exactly did council approve, word for word, at that meeting?
Through, if I may read, that staff be directed to bring forward a zoning bylaw amendment to permit 4 units per property as of right for council's consideration within 90 days of the passing of this resolution.
So you have to bring a motion back, or zoning back for 4 as of right town-wide at this point.
That's the direction we
The
received.
direction you have.
I leave it to the clerk and solicitor to see whether that would be a reconsideration if something would be different.
So what could we do at this point to change that so that it would not be 4 as of right for the heritage districts? Is there anything we as a council can do, a P&D council can do at this point?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what's before council is not that. It's the approval of the heritage district study. So I don't think it's appropriate at this point in time to make that type of recommendation through to the zoning matter.
If I may, that report will be coming back at the March date, and that would be the time that is to be discussed and debated. And Solicitor Carr, did you want to weigh in on this at all from a legal perspective?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur fully with the comments that you've already received from the Commissioner on this point.
I appreciate the feedback. So March the 4th is kind of a critical date for all of us here. I thank you.
I see CAO Closey coming down. Right. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Through you, Chair, I just wanted to highlight, the Commissioner had recited the resolution, but Council had added some words in there. You had added the words "with due regard to heritage conservation and servicing infrastructure." So automatically, as part of that process, we will be looking at the implications on the heritage districts as a result of the 4 units per lot.
And public notification is an integral part of the process as well, correct?
Absolutely. It would be subject to a public statutory meeting, and I think March is the time frame that planning staff are looking to bring that forward.
Thank you, Madam CAO. Councillor, you're good? All right. Councillor McNeese.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thanks for the clarity to the CAO, because I remember that friendly amendment that came along so that we would do regard for heritage. And at the appropriate time, I'm happy to move the revised heritage study forward.
Thank you for that. I have a motion expression from Councillor Hazlitt-Thiel, just to let you know. Any other questions or speakers on this item? All right. So Councillor Hazlitt-Thiel has moved the recommendation that the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District revised study, as attached in Appendix A to the staff report and revised in accordance with the memo dated February 5th of this year from Planning Services, be approved. And further, that staff be directed to continue work on the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District update to create a revised plan and guidelines. All in favor? Thank you very much. Moving to 7.2, Rental Housing Protection Guidelines and Transition Options Bylaw 2024-022. Council, how would you like to deal with this one? moved by Councillor Adams, the recommendation number 1, that the Rental Housing Protection Guidelines and Transition Options Report dated January 23rd, 2024 from the Planning Services Department be endorsed, and further, that bylaw 2024-022, a bylaw to amend the Town of Oakville Rental Housing Protection Bylaw 2023-102 regarding Part 12, approval by the Commissioner under delegated authority attached as Appendix B to this report be passed. I'm sorry? He's from the floor. To the item we just moved? He wasn't a registered delegation. All right, we've just passed that motion, and we have a request from an attendee from the floor that wasn't listed on our delegation list for this evening. So, Mr. Salmigno, did you have something brief you wanted to share with us?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm a little puzzled why my name wasn't on the list of delegates, because I sent an outlook through the town system and everything, so it should have been there. However, I'm here right now. I'm just wondering, possible that this could be presented overhead? Specifically, I just want to address the revised bylaw, section 12. Now, I know at a later time, the town will be coming to the public to get feedback in regards to the guideline. However, I'll address that at the time that it comes forth to the public. I just wanted to clarify the specific applications or whatever zoning that was in effect prior to the bylaw, which was issued, I believe, in July 10th. Based on the information provided in the report, there are, I think, 3 areas or 3 properties, whatever, in regards to 1, the 50 Spears, 2, the Bellier Street, and 3, the Lakeshore Bronte. And as you can see up there, I just wanted to follow the actual amendment to make sure I understand it fully. Like, for instance, 50 Spears, in regards to 12A1, 6 or more dwellings. So therefore, it would not be delegated to the commissioner, and it would go toward to council for whatever approval of the permit. And similarly, in regard to 12A2, 6 or more rental units, it doesn't meet the delegation for Part A, less than 6. However, it does meet in regards to will not reduce the number of rental units to less than 6. So that part is can be delegated, but because it's an and, it cannot be delegated to commissioner. And lastly, 12A3, it can be delegated because I believe the applicant wanted to replace rental units because it's rental with rentals, so it can be delegated. However, there is, they say, and less than 6 existing rental units were occupied as of July 10th, and therefore cannot delegate because it's an and, therefore it has to go to council in regard to that property. With respect to the second one, I have no information whereby I can fill out this chart. However, the third one, I was able to, and based on the first section A1, you cannot be delegated. The A26 cannot be delegated. However, on part A3, it can be delegated based on A and B. So I'm just wondering if this chart is correct. My main concern is in regards to 50 Spears, and I brought up the issue, and it's not just the rental units, but also affordable units that needs to be replaced by the applicant. So as it stands right now, am I correct to state that for the permit to be passed or processed, it will come to council and it won't be delegated to the commissioner? That's my question to you tonight, as well as for staff, if they can enlighten me in that situation.
Thank you for the question. We have someone coming up right now to answer that question for you. Paul?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you're correct. So 50 Spears will go to council, even if the bylaw before council today is passed. The bylaw before council would amend the rental housing control bylaw, and it would apply to the JM Lakeshore Brawny development. That's the last development on the chart, not the two above it.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. And I'm looking forward to the March, I believe, the 4th, in regards to seeing what happens at that meeting, because it's a very important meeting, not just for the heritage, but for the whole town of Oakville, as well as ensuring that affordable housing is provided within the town of Oakville. Thank you very much.
Thank you for attending. Oh, Councillor Elgar has a question for you.
Can you explain to me what affordable housing is in your mind?
Well, I believe the province has probably best illustrate what they believe is affordable. And in December 2023, they published something of that matter. I don't have it in front of me. But as you know, affordable isn't supportive housing, low income. Affordable means basically that somebody earning $100,000 may be able to buy a condo if possible. But within the town of Oakville, to buy a townhouse or even a detached house in Oakville, $100,000 wouldn't be able to do so. So affordable means less than $100,000 income. In regards to the price, I have no clue, because the developer will determine the price, and based on supply and demand within the market will determine what is affordable.
I thank you. I think there's an awful lot of misinterpretation when people say affordable. You look forward to affordable because I think if you do the calculation, I think it's $235,000 you need income now if you want to have an affordable house. That's scary. But anyway,
It's quite substantial. Correct. Thank you.
So 7.2 was moved. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. There are no confidential discussion items this evening. We do have advisory committee minutes from the Heritage Oakville Advisory Committee, items 4.1 and 4.2. Is that Councillor McNeice, I see? Yes, it is. All in favor? And that is carried. Do we have a rising report? And we have moved by Councillor O'Meara that this committee rise from committee of the whole and report on consent items 4.1, confidential item 5.1, discussion items 7.1 and 7.2, and the advisory committee minutes 9.1 as noted by the clerk. And we have that seconded by Councillor Longo, that the report and recommendations of the Committee of the Whole be approved. All in favor? And that is carried. Madam Clerk, any new business that you're aware of? I see shaking of heads. So consideration and reading of the bylaws moved by Councillor Lischina and seconded by Councillor Elgar, that the bylaws noted be passed, and all in favor? That is carried. So with that, at 7:15, we can adjourn. Thank you.